Everyone, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me, Nicki Bee. New book, Dark Psychology and Manipulation Techniques, plus How to Analyze People. Off we go.
This is Audible.
Dark Psychology and Manipulation Techniques, plus How to Analyze People, 2 in 1. The Ultimate Guide to Influence Anyone Using Mind Control, plus Body Language Analysis and Behavioral Psychology. Written by Manuel May. Narrated by James Jones. Dark Psychology and Manipulation Techniques. The Ultimate Guide to Influence Anyone Using Mind Control and Maximum Secret Manipulation Techniques. Written by Manuel May. Narrated by James Jones. Chapter 1. Dark Psychology. Dark psychology can be defined as the study of human condition because it relates to the psychological nature of people to hunt other people, motivated by criminal impulses and/or deviance, without purpose and general assumptions of instinctive impulses and social sciences. All humanity has the potential to victimize other people and living beings. Although there are many limits or sublimate this trend, some act on these impulses. Dark psychology understands those thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and systems of subjective processing that lead to predatory behavior that disagrees with contemporary beliefs about human behavior. Dark psychology believes that criminal, deviant, and abusive behavior is deliberate 99.99% of the time and has a rational and determined motivation. It is the remaining 0.01% the dark psychology volumes of Adlerian theory and teleology. Dark psychology assumes that there is an area in the human psyche that allows some people to commit cruel behaviors without a purpose. In this theory, it is called dark singularity. Dark psychology states that all humanity has a reserve of malicious intentions towards others, ranging from minimally intrusive and fleeting thoughts to purely psychopathic deviant behavior without any coherent rationality. This is called dark continuum. The limiting factors that act as accelerators and/or attractors to get closer to the dark singularity and where someone's horrible actions fall into the dark continuous is what dark psychology calls the dark factor. Brief introductions to these concepts are illustrated below. Dark psychology is a concept that this writer has been fighting for 15 years. It is only recently that he has finally conceptualized the definition, philosophy, and psychology of this aspect of the human condition. Dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Those who cannot connect with others or have the ability to disconnect from their emotions deliberately may be part of this obscure triad. There is a set of personality traits that define narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. In the most extreme cases, individuals who share the characteristics of this triad become criminals or get lost in the broad spectrum of mental illness. However, some do not meet the criteria for a psychiatric diagnosis and live with us daily. People who display these traits and forms of behavior are called obscure personalities because of their insensitive, selfish, malevolent tendencies in their relationships with others. Delroy Polhus and Kevin Williams, psychologists at the University of British Columbia, were responsible for baptizing as the obscure triad the most harmful part of human relations. Narcissism. Everything is allowed to me, or others are only there to worship me, are typical examples of narcissistic, dominated thoughts. They are selfish people with a sense of egocentric right and a positive self-image, although unrealistic if you consider the opinion of the people around you. Narcissists are snake charmers. At first, they are very dear to others. Their behaviors are pleasant and attractive, but over time, they can become very dangerous. They may even unintentionally show what their true intentions are, to gain more admiration and power. They often get bored with the routine, so look for tough challenges. The most narcissistic demand a leadership position, law, or any other profession that involves high levels of stress. According to psychoanalyst Michael McCabe, narcissism is an increasingly frequent disorder in the upper levels of the business world and is directly related to competition, salary, and glamour. One of their strengths is their great persuasiveness. Thanks to this, they surround themselves with a large following, can convince without any effort. In short, they always get what they set themselves. Moreover, as they are not empathetic, they are not scrupulous about the means and strategies they use to achieve their goals. The narcissist's interest and concern for others are zero, despite their high theatricality. They feel no remorse and are impassive to the needs and feelings of the people around them. Now, your Achilles heel is your self-esteem. Narcissists often have very low self-esteem, which is accompanied by internal vulnerability and some instability. Therefore, they usually seek to relate to people they consider inferior to exercise their dominance and feel powerful. Signs to recognizing a narcissist: charming, seductive, and inspiring, reliable. Such as the narcissistic people at first. However, little by little their true intentions appear to inferior others. Learn how to identify them. Would you know how to recognize a narcissist? Narcissistic personality disorder, also known as megalomania, is a pathological condition characterized by overly high self-esteem, omnipotence over other people, and lack of empathy. The narcissist thinks himself better than others in every respect. We can find narcissistic people daily, and we should identify them to avoid them. Establishing a relationship with a narcissist can be a rewarding experience at first. However, he later shows his true intentions to make others feel inferior and to take advantage of those around him. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders of the American Psychiatric Association, narcissism can be identified by 9 signs. They can help us recognize a pathological narcissist and avoid an abusive relationship. Clues to recognizing a narcissist. 1. Greatness. Greatness is feeling superior compared to others. From a narcissist's point of view, all his achievements and capabilities are excellent. This makes those around you inferior. Narcissists often speak and act as if they are the most critical people on the planet. 2. Concern for success and power. Narcissistic people are very concerned about how to achieve success in their lives. This means your greatest fantasies are achieving unlimited power and success, brilliant knowledge, and exuberant beauty. 3. Belief in being unique. Narcissists consider themselves to be unique, irreplaceable, and unique beings. This only makes relationships with other people who prove to be unique. This explains why narcissists believe that few can understand them or have things in common with them. 4. sense of entitlement to special treatment. Narcissists like to be treated in a unique way. They require privileges as they consider that they deserve to be treated in the best way. All because they are special and, as such, need to be handled correctly. For the same reason, a narcissist cannot be opposed or criticized. 5. Excessive admiration. Narcissists are pretentious and therefore demand to be admired at all times and places. Therefore, they expect to be met and admired by others. They constantly seek that others treat them in a special way, without worrying about whether they deserve this treatment or not. 6. Envy of others. Narcissists are often jealous of people who are better than them in certain respects. This can be open or covert envy. In addition, they always consider others to envy them for their personal abilities and achievements. 7. Lack of empathy. One of the worst characteristics of the narcissist is that he is not able to empathize with others. Narcissism often makes one unable to identify with the feelings and needs of others. This makes them incapable of love, remorse, and guilt, and no regret for their negative attitudes. 8. Exploit others for personal gain. Narcissists often take advantage of others to achieve their personal goals. They manipulate others to use their resources, ideas, time, and contacts to achieve their own goals. That is why every narcissist is a controller who manipulates any situation or person in his favor, regardless of what the consequences will be. 9. Is arrogant and dominant. Every narcissist is arrogant and dominant with the people around him. For a narcissist, everything he says or does is correct, so it must be considered and accepted without question. This attitude causes narcissists to impose their ideas on others. Tactics that narcissists will use to manipulate you. When we were young and hear that someone is narcissistic, we already imagine a person who stands in front of the mirror all day. A person who thinks she is beautiful, likes her own image. In addition to completely distorting our view of self-esteem, if you think it's beautiful to be narcissistic, so be modest, also makes us ignore something very important. Narcissism is much bigger and can hurt us a lot. A narcissist has many characteristics, but the main one is selfishness. And it's not just that selfishness of not wanting to borrow Faber-Castell's metallic crayons, no. This selfishness is one that one only thinks the best for them. The egoist is unable to want the best for the other. Imagine the shit that is the relationship with such a person. Unfortunately, these relationships are common, as narcissists have beneficial forms of manipulation. So, to avoid entering into these relationships, whether loving, fraternal, or even professional, it is good to know how the central manipulations used by narcissists work. 1. Triangulation. When you least expect it, you are in a triangle. It's not about cheating, and it's always about involving others in your bullshit. Somehow, the narcissist still gets someone to speak up for him and claim that you are wrong. 2. Devaluation. At a point, you were everything the narcissist wanted. Suddenly, it seems that everything about you is annoying and hateful. Nothing you do is right. This is a way of making you believe that you need to work even harder to please him. 3. Aggression. According to some behavioral research, narcissists are closely linked to an aggressive personality, both physical and verbal, and unable to control their outbursts. Physical aggressions are easy to identify, Psychological ones can occur for years without the victim realizing it. These are the traits of psychological assault. They make you feel afraid in some way. They threaten you. They use derogatory language. They deny emotional, physical, or financial support. Control your contact with friends and family. They control their behavior. They will pressure you to do things you don't want to do. 4. Decrease. Neglecting people and trying to diminish them is a form of manipulation. If the narcissist can embrace you by your appearance, education, or social class, he will feel better by comparison. 5. Play victim. When a handler realizes that his tactics have failed, he appeals to his compassion. This often includes trying to justify your inflated ego by blaming it on your actions. Don't fall for it. 6. Inappropriate behavior. Have you ever had to apologize for someone else's behavior? So you were manipulated. A narcissist can often behave in exaggerated public behavior, abusing sexual words and terms and annoying those around him. Believe me, apologizing for him only makes him see you as someone who will clean up the mess and, when he wants, can act like an idiot. 7. Monopoly of conversations. It's all about him. So don't be surprised if a narcissist isn't paying the slightest attention to what you're talking about. In addition, he tends to always bring the conversation back to himself and interrupt a lot, but in no way tolerates being interrupted. Narcissists hate to be interrupted. 8. Projection. Try accusing a narcissist of something wrong. It will blame the behavior on you because, of course, they are impeccable. 9. Brainwashing. Have you found yourself doing something you didn't want to do without even knowing why? You have likely been manipulated. Somehow, the narcissists can convince you to do things against your own will. 10. Gaslighting. Gaslighting, an old acquaintance. A tool widely used by psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists. One of the worst kinds of manipulation makes you doubt your sanity. They will deny something that happened until you begin to discredit from your head. In the end, you believe you imagine things. 11. Verbal aggression. Shouts and insults are other forms of manipulation. The goal is to make you feel small and afraid. Take it easy, keep your tone, and ask the narcissist to do the same. If it's no use, refuse to talk at that moment. Always be on the watch out for these signs, and if things get out of hand, get help from friends and family. Machiavellianism. For the Machiavellians, the end justifies the means, regardless of the consequence that may arise. They are very calculative and cold people, destroying any true emotional connection with others. Although they have traits in common with narcissists, such as selfishness and the use of others, there is one distinguishing feature. They are realistic in their perceptions and estimates of their abilities and the relationships they maintain. The Machiavellians don't try to impress anyone. On the contrary, they show themselves as they are and prefer to see things better because, in this way, they can better manipulate each other. Their focus is on the emotions of the people they would want to manipulate to get what they want. If they know your feelings, it will be easier to choose the best strategy to manipulate it. According to Daniel Goleman, people with Machiavellian characteristics may have less empathy for others. Their coldness seems to stem from a lack of processing both their own emotions and those of others. Their emotions are so baffling that when they are anxious, they often cannot tell whether they are sad, tired, or just not feeling well. However, they have a great ability to perceive what others think. But, as Goleman says, even if your head knows what to do, your heart has no idea. Machiavellianism, characteristic warning signs from a toxic Machiavellist. You can work for one, date one, or you yourself could be one. How can you know for sure if someone has characteristics of Machiavellianism? Before you point your fingers at people and tell them that they have Machiavellian characteristics, which makes you look super intelligent if you use it properly, you need to know what it means. Machiavellianism, as the Oxford English Dictionary says, is the use of cunning and duplicity in statesmanship or general behavior. Now let's delete that sentence and make it truly readable. Thank you, Oxford Dictionary. What it refers to is someone who focuses purely on his self-interest and manipulates, cheats, and misuses others to achieve his personal goals. They don't look like great people. Machiavellian traits to watch out for. Interestingly, Machiavellianism is part of the dark triad of the three negative personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. If someone has these qualities, they are more likely to perform actions that are considered harmful. In other words, they are bastards. If someone has these Machiavellian traits, at least one of them, they are more likely to commit crimes and cause social distress. Are there people suddenly appearing in you? If someone has these qualities, you should keep a close eye on them. If they are Machiavellian, they can be a psychopath. Now, I am not trying to scare you, but it is known that Machiavellianism is strongly correlated to psychopathy. Does this mean that this person is going to kill you? No, but it does mean that they have little empathy, mixed with high levels of impulsiveness. It is therefore not the right combination to date or have children with, if you get what I say. If I can make it brighter, stay away from this person. They show signs of duplicity. Duplication means, and again, thank you Webster's Dictionary, the contradictory ambiguity of thought, speech, or action, especially confessing one's true intentions through deceptive words or deeds. You actually have no idea where their right plans are, because they continuously tell you one thing and do another. Focused on their own well-being. Listen, we are all animals, so it is normal for everyone to be selfish and focused on their own well-being. You can't call someone Machiavellian to take care of themselves. However, there is a moment when it goes overboard. People who score as Machiavellianism think that to get ahead, they have to be misleading. They are tactical. If they disclose information to you, this happens for a specific reason, and usually because it is beneficial to them. So, if you feel like you are missing a piece of the puzzle, it's because it's you. And, if you think you've received all the right information, there is a reason why. At the end of the day, they never let you know anything just because you know it. They manipulate and control. They study the people around them. They know very well where everyone taps around them. That is why they are successful in getting ahead of you. You may not even see their manipulation until you realize that you are entirely dependent on it. Your talents, skills, and abilities they simply use to exploit. It's about getting ahead. This is all a massive game for them. Intimate relationships, if any, work, friends, are carefully selected as if they were chosen to gain or retain power. But let's be sincere. These people are not in the game of maintaining power. They always want more. They are narcissistic. If they were not narcissistic, it would not make sense. These people are only concerned about themselves. They sit high on a pedestal and feel extremely important. Yes, self-interest is one thing, but they are on a very different level because they think they are the most critical people on the planet. That means they use you and throw you away if it means they are making progress. The ends justify the means. They don't care how they climbed the top of the ladder to that cushy CEO position, and the point is, they made it. All the dirty work they had to do to get there makes perfect sense, and they had to do it. Or else, they would not have achieved what they were doing, or at least not in this time period. They do not feel bad for their actions, because they have finally made their goal. These people usually do not seek therapy, usually because they see nothing that they are doing wrong, or because they do not want to see a therapist because they believe that people are generally unfair and do not trust. Usually, when they go to therapy, it is due to family members, friends, or a court order that forces them to do so. This doesn't mean that they will be successful with therapy. It must be wanted. You will be charmed. They are very charming. If they were in a different way, you wouldn't pay attention to them, or you'd think they're bastards. But they know how to get people to worship, respect, and fear them. Although they may not have the desired skills, it doesn't matter, and they have charm. As soon as they see something in you that they need, they put that charm on and give you the feeling that you are a special person. These people are toxic. If you read this because you think you know someone who has Machiavellian traits, you can only do one thing: remove them from your life. Yes, I know it sounds loud. Listen, people like this don't change because they don't see a problem. The only thing you can do to save yourself is to remove them from your life. Believe me, and they will find a replacement for you soon. Psychopathy. Psychopaths regard other people as objects with which they can play and use at will. However, unlike the different dark triad personalities, they almost never experience anxiety and even seem to ignore what it means to be afraid. The psychopath's coldness is extreme, so it can become far more dangerous than the other dark triad personalities. Because they are not afraid, they can remain serene even in emotionally intense, dangerous, and terrifying situations. They do not care about the outcome of their actions and are the best candidates to become prisoners. The neuronal circuits of such people desensitize the segment of the emotional spectrum associated with suffering. Therefore, their cruelty seems insensitive because they cannot detect it. Moreover, remorse and shame do not exist for them. However, psychopaths have some facilities to put themselves in another's place, and thus press the appropriate buttons to reach their goal. They are very persuasive. However, these types of people, despite standing out in social cognition and characterized by understanding the relationships and behavior of others only from a logical or intellectual perspective. Signs that will help you recognize a psychopath. 1. The psychopath is sorely lacking in empathy for others. These individuals do not feel feelings for others. They are not able spontaneously to put themselves in the place of others, which explains their ability to make them suffer physically and psychologically. You must remember this. The psychopath is indifferent to the suffering and pain of others, and he does not worry about the fate of his victims. 2. The psychopath has no remorse and does not feel guilty. These people feel no guilt. That's why they are ready for anything to achieve their ends. The psychopath will never recognize his wrongs and his responsibility, even after passage to the act. Irresponsible and unable to question himself, the psychopath will always say it is the fault of the other. In particular, you will not be surprised to discover that the psychopath feels that he has no psychological problem, and therefore sees no reason to change his psychopathic behavior. 3. The psychopath is cold-blooded. The psychopath is an insensitive and cold being. His eyes are very cold, and he perfectly controls his fears. It is therefore impossible to take it by feelings. Moreover, the psychopath hates routine and monotony. He likes taking risks and looking for thrills. He will often consume alcohol, tobacco, or drugs, and engage in dangerous activities, gambling, hazardous sports, Russian roulette, delinquency, perverted sexuality. You can easily spot him for his constant need for stimulation. Psychopaths do not subscribe to tranquility, silence, and reflection. They continuously need to be entertained and busy. 4. The psychopath is egocentric and narcissistic. Psychopaths have an oversized ego. They are permanently self-centered simply because they have a narcissistic and egocentric personality. They see themselves at the top of the world. They want to be admired and think that others envy them. They will often think themselves to be smarter and stronger than they actually are. Their personality makes them very easy to detach themselves from others. They do not care what others think of them. As well as their actions, they lie without scruple, are unreliable, cheat, go away without warning, and do not keep their promises. 5. The psychopath has no definite goals in the long term. Psychopaths do not have realistic long-term goals. They either have no objective at all, or their ambitions are unachievable and based on an exaggerated estimation of their capacities and achievements, a gregarious ego. 6. The psychopath manipulates and adopts inhuman behavior. A psychopath is an irritable person, intolerant to frustration and anger. He will quickly feel frustrated, especially if he does not get what he wants. Given his low level of self-control, the psychopath is unpredictable and quickly gets upset by violently expressing his anger on others. The attacks of rape without acting out and violence, physical and moral, are typical and manifest themselves very quickly in the psychopathic personality. The psychopath's violence is expressed towards others, but also towards himself. Mutilation, suicide. Moreover, psychopaths are extremely manipulative with people around them. For them, the others are objects that they manipulate and instrumentalize to satisfy their needs. They will continually attack others. Attacks, criticisms, belittling, denigration, intimidation, deprecation, and humiliation, and always blame others for their hardships. They perceive others as potential prey that they frighten, persecute, and want to dominate, to revalue themselves. The psychopath is usually very talkative and convincing. He will use language as a weapon for moral harassment. Beware of psychopaths, as they are potentially dangerous people who will often have to deal with justice. 7. The psychopath adopts antisocial behavior. In general, the psychopath is someone who is not interested in the world and despises social rules. He creates his own. Frequently isolated, with few or no friends, the psychopath often adopts a strongly antisocial behavior. From mistrust to contempt, through aggression, persecution, and even criminal acts against enemies. He can't participate in a social group, difficult to keep his job for a long time, etc. Psychopaths feel victimized and excluded from society and can become thugs, extremists, or terrorists with a deep rage against society. 8. The psychopath is impulsive and emotionally unstable. Like the borderline personality, the psychopath suffers from significant impulsiveness and emotional instability. He does things by envy and to obtain immediate satisfaction. Being unstable and unpredictable, he regularly unloads his anguish on those close to him. Thus, his mood is very changeable: sad, anxious, depressed, angry, aggressive. The amorous psychopath engages in a rather intense relationship at first, but the relationship will not last long. The partner will be quickly targeted and depreciated. 9. The psychopath has difficulty maintaining his relationships. Beware. Contrary to popular belief, most psychopaths are not serial killers. Rather, they are individuals who live in isolation from others. The problem is that they feel persecuted and will despise others. The psychopath is difficult to create relationships and has great difficulty in maintaining a good relationship with others.
And that's where we're pausing today. I am very intrigued to see and hear more on this book. Like, subscribe, comment today. This is Nicki Bee signing off. I love you and I'm proud of you if no one's told you today.